Now, the thing that I wanted to point out to people was about why it might not come back down. Okay, but before we move on to why it might not come back down, I just wanted to examine these lows here and put into question this comment about whether or not this was support has become resistance. And I think I'll just do that by thinking about how this price has been a range where we've not made it above or below the extremes of it. And in that sense, you could see that a lot of people would be thinking about this in a linear format. So I just popped the chart onto a linear format and to represent how people may be thinking about prices while they're in this range. And then redraw this trend line. You can see that actually it fits quite neatly. Now that's good, right? That's good for a bounce from here. And it leads on to the next reason why this might be, it could be an area where you don't see the prices coming back down here towards the question mark again, right? Can they come towards the question mark again at this low by touching off of that low? That was what we were asking, right? So I've put that lined up with that quite neatly for us. And the answer to that is, of course, well, if the prices were to go up towards this zone, and there may be, stops along the way. I've just drawn a straight line. We know that markets move with zigzags. That's obviously straight. It's kind of like when you watch a cooking video and the guy cuts up some chicken. It's like, I have washed my hands. I've washed my hands, to avoid the comments below the video being like, bro, you got to wash your hands before you touch the raw meat touches the cooked meat. And it's like, man, just edit. Anyway, it's the same thing, right? So there will be jagged lines. There's one, there's two, and there's three touches up here. And we do have this kind of pattern that the prices may well actually be in, and it's kind of like what happens in the scenario once we've come across this line however many times. And at some point, if there was a move that was the same sort of size as this and took us up towards highs, you could be looking up towards the sort of 292. Now on the linear chart here, just to reiterate here so you can see, the top end of this is the one that starts to become like it's a question about, is it unrealistic? But using that range of that zone, we can see that it's not. And if I flip it back to logarithmic again, then what you can see is that moving up towards the top end of that zone would kind of just confirm that there is this overall upward channel. I'm sorry about the wavy lines, but you can see this overall upward channel. I just wanted to draw it organically using my using my mouse to show people, but now I'm making a great mess on the charts. Take that away. So that's the theory, right? So of course, it could be the case that if there were to ever return towards anything above these highs, that it moves on, and that's just that. That's one of those stories when you end up like your man that wrote Trading in the Zone, and you say, oh, I watched the prices going up and up and up, and I didn't get in on the trade. That's kind of one of those. So I'm not going to say that it has to, but the chances of it doing it, it's done it a couple of times already, once, twice, three times, four times. The chances, could it do it again? It could. Could we find that operates as resistance here? It could. Could it be support again next time? Yeah. And then do you not get to buy it below at 80 cents? Could the retrace back down, just kick it down to $1.07 and then move on up? Yeah, it could, because that would be equivalence to what we've actually seen before. So there is a question mark there to be truly there is, if prices can find a retracement up. But while they're below 95, it's not that bullish. So it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because they're taking a risk by buying it at 95 because it might not make it past that zone. But if it does make it past that zone, you're taking a risk buying it. You're taking a risk not buying it at 107, hoping for it to go back down to test off these lows at 80, because it might not need to. So that's always one of these things, and that's why when you buy things lower, there's a higher reward, but there's a higher risk, isn't there? Because it'd be more risky to buy at these prices now than to wait for it to come back up. So you can understand why risk and reward works. So why people say a higher risk, higher reward, and that would be the scenario there. I think that I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give anybody financial advice, but I think that in the grand scheme of things, if the price of this moves up towards $2.75, that any buy anywhere between $1.20 and 80 cents in that entire 40-cent range, even though that's a huge range compared to 80 cents, would work out as being pretty good is just a time when the markets themselves have been rocked really hard. It's easy to look. The question I'm answering here, folks, right? By the way, let's not get too distracted. I spent the first, 45 minutes of the show talking about the fundamental stuff in the world that's happening that's rocking markets to their core. Everywhere, all these big things, all of them, including AI companies like Nvidia, and everything's getting rocked by these big events. And then I look over the LPSN chart and somebody says, oh, what do you think about the price action since earnings, which was just over here, last week? And it's like, have you seen the S&P since last week? This is actually doing okay. So if there was a big move up the way and it went up and then S&P went on to new highs and everything else, and there was some different picture, right? If it was a completely different picture, then we might be having a completely different conversation, So I think it's like I've explained it. I think I've explained it there. You can let me know in the comments below if you think I explained it, and you want to leave a comment down below, and you don't know what to say. Say Rocky Rocks, you explained it. Cheers, mate. That'll be a great comment if you're looking for a comment. Let me know you've watched this point in the video as well. Put a little LPSN in there if that's what you're trading, or a Bitcoin hashtag whatever it is that you've traded most recently. Right? Just put that in the comment as well. That'll be great for the algo.